today you guys are tuning in for a very special Waterloo market update from Zack Brittain.
Sellers, you sellers out there. The reason why I kind of wanted to really hammer you multi-unit owners and you multi-unit owners that are maybe selling now or considering selling in the short term was the old stick the sign up and get multiple offers tricks. They just aren't working like they used to all the time. If you're going to sell it yourself or you're going to hire somebody to sell the property for you, they have to know how to have specific conversations with particular buyers, because how you contact and how you talk to somebody who's buying their home to live in is totally different than the conversations you need to have and the positioning of these conversations you need to have with somebody who's buying it as an investment property. Now for the buyers, investing in Waterloo region kind of right now, there's a few spots that we see immediate opportunity, and then a few spots that I'm starting to kind of see a little bit more.
All right, everybody, welcome back to the Canadian Real Estate Channel. I'm Adam JD Martin, and today you guys are tuning in for a very special Waterloo market update from Zack Brittain. Zack, how you doing this morning?
Good, man. Good. Me and the girls were fired up. We were listening to Doja Cat all morning. You know, I was trying to get the baby to have a little bit of a dance party. She's still too little, but you know, I was like pretty excited for the video, but had a good morning with the girls jamming out. So, you know, we're fired up. A little bit more energy than usual, which isn't necessarily something I need. So I'm pumped, man. We got some good stuff to go through.
That's awesome. Well, I'm on my third or fourth coffee, so I understand the vibe. I'm with you.
Heck yeah, man. Heck yeah. Another double espresso after this with the lunch every time, you know. And I'll shout out to the parents out there. I don't know how people do that. Like, we got one and my wife's staying at home, and I don't know how people have 2, 3 kids. You guys are crazy. But yeah, man, I believe in the coffee for sure. But today, man, so interest rate announcement was today. I'm just gonna say, like, if people are looking for like a market update, like go to our website. I'll give you guys, there's a link in the description for our investor hot list that we send out. We'll send out like updates via data, our reports, you know, what we think is going on weekly. But like, we're gonna do a full market analysis and an end of like year kind of summary in the next video, just because there'll be a lot more complete data kind of heading into the end of November, beginning of December. And I'll share my predictions, you know, once we kind of see how the market's going to react. But for those of you that want like strict market data, you know, send me a DM or get on the investor hot list. We send nuggets there. But next video, we're going to do like deep dive in that. So just to kind of get that out of the way, because I am really curious personally, and I know other people are going to be. But multi-units, selling multi-units is different now, my man. It is different now, Adam, especially in Kitchener-Waterloo. In Kitchener, there's a fair amount of multi-units. Waterloo and Cambridge is much more coming to market. If inventory is going to stack, you know, you investors out there that are, you know, either refinancing or looking to offload some of your properties, you know, it's not like 2 years ago where you stick the sign up and you get 10 offers in a week. Not like that. So we're going to go through how we're selling multis, specific things sellers can do, whether you're doing on market or off market, that you need to do to your properties to position them to actually sell and sell well. And then in previous videos, Adam, we shared some maps. I did some really rinky-dink treasure maps of Google. Man, I'm in sales. I'm an investor. I'm not an artist, dude. There's no points for creativity when it comes to the maps. But I want to share with investors out there that are thinking like acquiring some specific deals that we like in Kitchener and why. And then we got ADUs. I got an ADU update on one that we are just about to finish in Kitchener for our own project. And we're going to be doing some events for that. So if people are local or they want to come and take a look at, you know, the finished product, we'll be teasing an event for that. There'll be more details coming. But yeah, sorry, I had to put a picture of Doja Cat up there. I was like, I wasn't being that creative with this. There's a lot more information in this slide. So I had to put a little photo of the Doja Cat up there. We're big fans at this house. Shout out to our own YouTube channel. If you guys want specific stuff for ADUs and some of like the more current projects, we do share some videos there. The market updates, Canadian Real Estate channel are still the bread and butter. Like this is where all the good stuff's at. If you want more specific to our projects, YouTube channel right there. And shout out to a comment. We got a comment on a previous video, and I thought I would like your opinion on this because I know you're going to be hosting the video. I was actually kind of curious what you would say too, as an investor with experience in totally different markets, a bunch of different stuff. Like we're primarily Waterloo region right now, small to mid-level multi-units, those kind of deals. But they said in 6.5 years, the youngest baby boomer will be 66 years old. And I mean, like, you know, my mom's 62. She's kind of at the tail end of those baby boomers, right? So my folks and my in-laws are around this age. They're wondering if we're going to see a ripple effect for, you know, as people start moving out of their homes into assisted living. I'd love to kind of get your opinion on that aging population, because I feel like that topic has really been kind of thrown to the wayside with how affordability is really getting crushed. And new units and immigration are kind of the hot topics in real estate.
One interesting thing that I've noticed, because my grandparents are actively seeking a property right now, and they're in the situation where like they bought their house cash in like the 70s and they've lived in the same house since, but it's now in like a super desirable neighborhood. So it's appreciated. I don't know, it's appreciated like $900,000 from where they bought it. And so with them having no debt or no anything against that, because that just wasn't part of their generational, like that wasn't part of the culture. Like borrowing was actually bad. So I think there's an interesting opportunity here where a lot of these houses.
Now, sellers, you sellers out there, I shared this slide, or a very similar one, in the previous video. The reason why I kind of wanted to really hammer you multi-unit owners and you multi-unit owners that are maybe selling now or considering selling in the short term was the old stick the sign up and get multiple offers tricks. They just aren't working like they used to all the time. And as a market shifts, let's just be clear, a single family, you know, primary residence market moves differently than a multifamily, multi-unit investor market. Let's just get that out of the way. But just please take some of these things into consideration. You know, you have to know if you're going to sell it yourself or you're going to hire somebody to sell the property for you, they have to know how to have specific conversations with particular buyers, because how you contact and how you talk to somebody who's buying their home to live in is totally different than the conversations you need to have and the positioning of these conversations you need to have with somebody who's buying it as an investment property. They're two totally different types of people, two totally different types of deals. So next up, like your numbers. Yes, you have to know your numbers for your property and what you're selling. It's a big part of what you're selling when you're selling an investment property, but understanding what potential buyers are working with on their end as well. So like, what's the financing market like? How easy is it to get capital? Is there a lot of buyers out there for these types of properties? How do they actually buy these properties, and what do they do with these properties will help you understand how to have those conversations. So the old put yourself in the other person's shoes. Guys, this is super, super simple stuff. Be wildly effective. Even if you gave yourself just a couple hours before you made the decision to sell the property to consider what a potential buyer will likely be coming to the table with, will help prepare you for those. And then not having a specific strategy to get people in the door, have the information very clear and relate to the way that you're probably going to actually sell the property, and having it all look super simple and clean. Simple is good. Human nature, path of least resistance. Investors aren't idiots, but there's other properties you need to compete with now. There's not just 2 other multi-unit listings in Kitchener Waterloo anymore, guys. There's dozens, which is fine. But if your stuff does not stand out, you're going to get overlooked. It's just less likely that people are going to look at your property, come view it, and come offer on it. So it has to be super simple. So I wanted to go through some specific like strategies and how we kind of go through the process just at a high level. Adam, I'm going to go through these pretty quick because they are like, it's so circumstantial. Not everything I'm going to say is applied to, you know, if you're an investor, you're watching this video, not everything I'm going to say is going to apply exactly to your situation or your property, but just like the general kind of order of operations to get a multi-unit on the market and get some action and actually sell it for a good price. This is typically what we would recommend, you know, most investors follow. So evaluation and property prep. Then you get into the marketing, and then we figure out based on our marketing and the actual numbers of the property, how do we position this to actually come into negotiations with a little bit of power as the seller. And as any negotiating situation, positioning how you negotiate and understanding the logical steps of a negotiation will set you up to actually get a deal closed. Not just, see people through the property or get a bunch of low ball offers. Like, I'm talking about actually selling a property, because a lot of multi-units on the market right now, I don't think a lot of them are going to sell for a lot of different reasons, but that's just my opinion. So let's get into numero uno here, evaluating and property prep, accurate numbers. Adam, how many times have you gotten a loosey-goosey Excel sheet from a seller and you take one look at it, you're like, dude, like, these aren't even the same numbers as on the listing, let alone, like, I know how much heat costs in this market. Like that, what's you like, have to be real. Your numbers have to be accurate, because if somebody sends me numbers on a property and they're either projections or they're just so blatantly wrong, red flag. I'm thinking either this guy doesn't know what they're doing or they're hiding something, or both. Right?
Yeah, I agree. Like I have personally looked at thousands of deals from the buy side. And one of the most frustrating things is not getting complete information or inaccurate information. And, you really have to respect that, like, the buyer also doesn't have unlimited time. So anytime you waste their time, it's just a psychological, it's one strike against you. And again, like, we're trying to make first impressions here, because, like, when they're first seeing your property on market, you really only have one shot to impress me. And that's when I first click open that listing. I get to see the numbers, I get to see some information, and I get to make a decision about whether or not it even qualifies for me to go look at it.
Boom.
Right? So I think inaccurate info is really bad, because it might actually prevent them from even going to see the property that they might have actually purchased had they gone and seen it, but you might not even get to that stage, right?
Right away. If the property information, the numbers aren't very clear and accurate, you as an investor, or me as an investor, I can't even make a decision whether it's worth my time. So the default is, it's probably not worth my time. Therefore, I'm not going to go look at it. So, like, guys, this is complete lease information, all the contracts that you guys have for anything under the property. So, like, you don't necessarily need to make all this public information, guys. This is stuff that you have as the seller, or that your sales representative should have on lock, so that if somebody requests it, or they need to have a specific conversation, or they're putting up their marketing package for their listing, they know what they should be sharing and they know that it's legit. So, like, if you do contracts for snow and grass removal, yeah, we have a reputable maintenance company. They've been doing it for this many years. They've barely raised the prices XYZ because we have such a good relationship with them. We have them under contract for the remaining of the winter. You guys can take that over, so you don't have to worry about it. So then the buyer already knows, oh, well, I know how much they're paying for maintenance, and it's already under contract, and I can assume that. So that's just one less thing I got to worry about after I close on this. So I don't have to worry about the grass or the snow and the salt being done, for the next 4 months. Okay. Same with dates and maintenance. When was the boiler or the mechanical system replaced? If you've owned a property for 20 years, 10 years, a lot of stuff has happened. The more accurate information that you can have readily available just shows that you have maintained the property well since you've owned it. And that is huge. That gives buyers, especially that are less experienced, a little more reassurance that, the place is going to be in good shape. For more experienced investors, that's a little less important, because they have experience considering, okay, well, the roof's this old, it's going to cost me this much. The windows need to be replaced because they're 25 years old and I can get a better energy rating, so on and so forth. But all that information sounds super boring. Literally one of the most important things. And then you can take it a step further. Now that you got all the information, you or your sales rep should be going through, what's your cap rate, what's your cost per door, what kind of cash on cash returns are we offering? What are comparable sales doing? How are they listing? Are they selling? Or are they sitting? Then you can start to really narrow down how you should be, positioning the property for your actual listing price and listing strategy. But data collection first, confirm data is actually accurate, and start getting it in a presentable manner, and then compare everything else to your market. That's really where you're starting to get, the property ready for, here's what we think we should be selling it for. And then what immediate items need to be done? Like, I have a lot of clients that'll reach out and say, hey, I'm ready to sell my home. And then you show up and you're like, well, it would make a ton more sense if we just did X, Y, Z, because you'd be able to net an extra 200, 300, 400 grand in the sale of your home. Or questions like, well, should I sell a property when I have 1 or 2 vacant units, or should I fill them? Should I update them so I can get current market rents? Should I update them then fill them? Like, these are all really good questions that are so property and market specific. But if you're not having those conversations in advance, you're making decisions without understanding what the implications are if you're trying to either refi or sell that property. So understanding vacancies, understanding how much you should be investing in the property prior to selling it, simple things that you should be doing to the property to make it show better, like get a junk removal company or hire a cleaning company to come out, clean the common areas, clean out the laundry areas, clean out the mechanical room, get rid of any junk around the driveway space where all the cars are parked, get the landscaping done, like spending a couple hundred or a couple $1,000 even before you get up on the market so that somebody can show up and be like, wow, this place is actually really well taken care of. Come on, like we're talking, this could make tens of thousands of dollars in difference if you're selling your property. I can't count how many times you show up on a property and you're just like, man, like this is just managed lazily. Like this is, they just haven't cared for it.
Yeah. And all of a sudden too, when that person shows up, they get that first impression. You start making assumptions that may not necessarily be true about the existing tenants too.
Yeah.
Right. And like there's nothing a landlord is looking for more than an easy transition into that building where they think that the tenants are going to not only pay on time, but not be a massive hassle. Right. And 100%. I think that's like literally priority number one, maybe right after price. Like if you could get the craziest price in the world, you would take on tenants that are more work. But at the same time, like that's probably not the market we're at right now. So it's like, you know, you got to present, right? Yes. Do the extra steps.
Yes, absolutely. And all this trickles down to positioning your property, actually get people to view it and buy it. Like shows nice, looks nice, more people are going to look at it. Simplest way to put it, right? So getting all those ducks in a row, like do not underestimate, one, how long that stuff can take, but two, more importantly, how much this is actually worth it, right? Look, if you want to put minimal effort into preparing the property and getting all of your information ready and making it look nice, all right, well then expect minimal interest, right? Or expect less of a price, or both. So I think it's just important for people to really consider, like, look, if you just put a little bit of effort up front, you're setting yourself up for way, way better chances of success. So then marketing. So let's say you got the property ready, Adam. You know, we have all information, you know, we've done some little things to make it look a little bit better, make sure, you know, people know that's been managed well, it's cleaned up. How are you actually going to like find people to come in and view it and buy it, right? So, you know, we did an exercise when I first got into real estate was with a mentor of ours through the University of Guelph, was define your target buyer. Like, who's your customer, right? You cover this in business level 1, marketing 101, is who's your target buyer. But, you know, don't just say a real estate investor or, you know, a guy or a girl with a bag of money. All right, you got to take it so much further. Where do they live? What do they do? Are they a full-time investor? Is it a big property, so I need somebody that's got a lot of money? Or is it a bigger property where I need a lot of people with a lot of money, because those typically get purchased in groups, right? How do they transact? Do they work with sellers directly? Do they work with other agents? Do they only deal off-market deals? You know, how do they find their properties? Is it through an agent? Do they do their own looking? You know, do they like paper copies or do they look online, right? Like, all these things trickle down into how these people find your property, how they like it to be presented, how they negotiate these properties, and ultimately if they're going to buy it, right? And that's the number one thing, is who actually buys these properties. I don't care who's looking at them, who buys them. I'm trying to sell it. Who buys these properties? And then understand, what do those people want? Do they want the cash flow? Do they want a project where they can, you know, force appreciation? Do they want something that they can instantly add value to? Or do they just need a nice property that's in good shape, getting good rents, they can just buy and ride off into the sunset in 10, 15 years, right? So all those trickle down into who they are, how they need to be communicated, and how they find their properties.
Yeah, that's really insightful. And I think it is a super valuable exercise to do, because you might overlook certain target audiences. Like right now, a triplex might actually cater to different people than it was in the past, where like maybe last year or 2 years ago, when numbers are going really crazy, it's like all investors and all they want to do is make a bunch of money turning it around. Yeah. And right now, like you might actually include in your target set, like a single parent who wants 2 mortgage helpers so that they can actually afford the change in monthly cost because of the rate changes. So like that defined customer, like that target actually needs a different message than the real estate investor from Toronto who's coming and paying cash and doesn't care about anything. 100%. So like it makes a lot of sense to think about this in advance so you can really set up your marketing for that. So that's really insightful, Zach.
So one thing that we do, I call other agents. I call other agents that have sold properties like the ones that I'm going to sell. Oh, hey guys, how many showings you guys get? You know, how many offers you guys get? What was the conditional period like? You know, oh, what did you rep the buyer or did somebody else bring the buyer? Oh, who brought the buyer? Oh, okay, well, where are they from? You know, oh, do they do these deals all the time? Like maybe, sure, maybe they want to buy another one just like the one that I'm bringing to market. That's not that is common. But what I'm doing is I'm getting a better understanding for what worked and didn't work for the competition, who that actually sold the property that's similar to my guys. And if I can get more information on who bought it, how long it took, what they did, how they closed on it, how the conditional process was, then I am just setting myself up, because this is somebody who has gone out and bought a property very similar to the one that I want to sell in the same market. So the way that they're thinking is going to be fairly similar to what other buyers that are going to buy my listing are going to think. So I just think it's, you know, really, really insightful to get an idea of who these people are, where they are, and how they transact, so that you can just position all of your marketing to fall on ears that want to hear it, that are going to see it and actually respond positively to it. And just like I hated myself for doing this, but I had to put it, just like your media and your communication needs to be 10 out of 10. That's something that's so simple to do very well if you have accurate information on the property and you hire a good media company. I'm not saying you need, look, Adam, you've purchased many of properties. You've been in many tenanted units, owner occupied units. People live how they're going to live. I've been in, you know, beautiful $2 million properties and $4 million mansions that look like people are living in squander. But I've also been in 1-bedroom apartments in rough areas of town that are immaculate. But you're not necessarily showing off the interior of all the units, right? Investors who are purchasing multi-unit properties, like most of them understand that you're probably not going to get really good show-ready units. People just live in their day-to-day lives. These are people working 40, 50, 60-hour weeks. They have a life. They have kids. They got stuff, right? I don't expect their units to be immaculate, but the exterior media is super simple to get that done. If you got a big lot, get some drone footage to show it off. Get some concept drawings for, you know, maybe the additions that you can make off the back or the side of that lot if you got a big property on a big lot. Like, you want to lay it out, and like, the photos, the videos are worth 1,000 words. If I can show somebody in 30 seconds of scrolling through photos that this place is beautiful, or it's, hey, this is nice, it's well kept, or that there is opportunity with the lot, then they're more likely to come see it, or they're more likely to actually look at the numbers. And if they look at the numbers, they see it's a fair deal, or there's opportunity. Okay, now they're coming to look at it. So just like, no cell phone photos, guys. Come on. No, get that out of here. Get the good media, right? So last one for the selling the multi units is positioning for negotiations. So I mean, it's tough to open up this can of worms without going deep down a rabbit hole for negotiations, because there's literally a million ways to put together a deal. It is so specific to the situation, the property, and the people that are handling the negotiation. But as a seller or as a buyer, when we're working with our buyers, we want to come from power. As a seller, you want to come from power as well. But in a market where we're starting to add a little bit more inventory in Waterloo region, especially for multi-units here, Adam, is you have to be able to position yourself in a situation where you have a leg to stand on from negotiations. So even if you absolutely have to sell your multi-unit property, being able to market your property and show that it offers good value based on your numbers, based on what can be done with the property, based on what the property is right now, gives you ability to justify the price and the terms that you're willing to accept, right? You can't just arbitrarily throw out price and terms without being able to justify why those make sense. And if you've already considered what the buyer is working with or likely working with and the way they want to be communicated with, then it's much easier to either rebuttal or, you know, adjust an offer you get or negotiate a specific part of the offer, because you've already considered, you know, what the market is for your type of property, what you have, and you have accurate information. So I think it's super important to understand. It's a little bit trickier for people who don't buy and sell properties that often, because the market that they probably bought or sold in last is different than it is now. But for our sellers, it's being very clear about what the property actually is right now. How accurate is your information, and why it makes sense for a potential investor to buy. A buyer needs to know that they're getting value. You're not giving it away as the seller, but a buyer needs to know they're at least getting a fair price for what it is right now. And then there is maybe upside or opportunity for them to get a little bit more juice out of that squeeze. An investor needs to know they're going to be able to make some money on the property, right?
Yep. Yeah, I mean, I would focus on things that you have done that are valuable to the building, right? Like I'm about to sell a building right now where we actually did a lot of renovations, but there is still opportunity to improve the value of the building. And, I'm in the position that a typical seller is in right now where like, yeah, like we have a cash flow issue. Like we need to shore up cash flow. So we're going to sell this building, but we're going to sell from a position of power and saying that, hey, we've actually done excellent renovations on 2 out of these 3 units. There's a third unit where you have opportunity to raise the value of the building, get a turnover, increase the revenue, as well as you could do some of the landscaping and exterior things to really bump up an appraisal. Now, it's priced accordingly, right? We're not priced as if we're not going to price it as if we've done all 3 units and it's the best exterior, because it's not. So, right, I think a little bit of this too is just like not lying to yourself about what the valuation of the building is, right? And saying like, oh, well, I did all this work. It's like, yes, and there is still work to be done. And so you must give that opportunity to the buyer to find the value there, right?
100%. Like have the conversation. Like look at your own property as if you were going to try and buy it and you wanted the best freaking deal for it. What is that buyer going to poke holes in? What are they going to not like? What are they going to like? Like, and that just helps you be much more realistic with the scenario. Obviously you want to sell it for the most price, but if your price is so unrealistic based on everything else that's going on in the market, then you're just going to be banging your head against the wall as the investor. You're going to be sitting on the market, not getting offers. So, and just like for people who aren't familiar with selling side of properties, understanding the viewing process, how it works with tenants, how it works with agents, there's a lot of different ways you guys can do it. Understanding how offer situations typically work, depending on the size of your building and how those properties transact. And then the conditional period, the firming up, right? Like understanding the progression so that it's not a surprise when somebody comes back and asks for a 5-day bump for their financing. Okay, well, I need a progression then. What else have you, why do you guys specifically need those extra days? Is this because you're switching lenders? Is this because you're trying to get more partners or you haven't raised enough capital? Or is this because you're actually just not a qualified buyer and you're wasting my time? So there's a lot of little things that you can do to position yourself to get more information as the seller so that when you do make decisions on either accepting or progressing with offers or showings and negotiations, that you're doing it with a likelihood that it's going to move in the right direction. And then finally, sorry, go ahead.
The creative part that I think you're about to get to too, right? I think it's super important because again, like people don't wake up and sell properties. You just literally never do that. It has never once happened where you just wake up, it's Monday morning, you're like, I'm going to sell one of my properties today.
But just to be clear, that if you do, call me.
Yeah. Call Zach if you do. But it's very difficult to imagine somebody waking up and selling an asset the size of a house, right? So what you have to know when you're making the offer is that there is 100% a motivation behind why somebody's listing.
Yes.
So like if you take my example right now, like because I need cash flow, like I just actually need cash flow. You could think about this in a different way that like, I'm actually not really that concerned about the final price right now. Like, would I love to get the maximum price, the highest possible value for the building? Absolutely. And so would everybody else. But here's the reality. I need the cash flow right now. So what that means is you actually have an opportunity to not only get me at a lower price, but you have an opportunity to think creatively on how you could fix my actual cash flow issue without having to maybe make your max allowable offer, right? So like in my position, I'd be fine if somebody just said like, hey, we'll find a way to get you 20, 30, 40, 50 grand now. And then we can like beat you up on price later, right? Because like, would I take a lesser price, but more cash today? It's like, yes, I absolutely would entertain offers like that. Absolutely. So how you go about doing that, structuring that on the paperwork, you got to talk to an expert like Zach. But like my actual issue is cash right now, right? It's not about selling the building. So I don't really care. So if you create weird, cool, creative things, like maybe it's actually the terms that you want to play with me. Hey, we'll buy your building close to your purchase price, but can I come in and start renovations today on that other unit? Sure. I don't care about that. Like, absolutely. You come today, come right now, come start right away. So that by the time you're closing, you've already added the value you need and you can get a rental lined up. Hey, can I start showing that unit for renting right now? Absolutely. I don't care about that, right? Like that is 100% something, if you ask me to do, I would say yes to right now. So like my problem might actually be the thing that you gain leverage on to be creative about what terms you can ask me for, Where like maybe in the past when like everything's going great, I'm selling because I'm at my max value. Like maybe I'm like, I don't really care about these terms and it sounds like a hassle. But
And I
now
know
I'm like,
it's more
sure.
likely to get price. Whereas now, if investors out there buying and selling, they're not quite moving as quickly. There's not as many people out there fighting for the same assets. Then you do have to be a little bit more open as the seller. That'll only increase your chances of getting whatever you want, whether that is max price or that is cash flow, or it is a combination of something in between. And I just think like a lot of investors over the last few years that were making money just doing any deal, the simple, straightforward deals, which is great. Awesome. I'd had some of those myself too. I'll take it and run. But to succeed in this shifting market where sellers and buyers are in different spaces and need different things, being open to that or understanding the tools that you can use, creative financing, deposit structures, work before closing, like very normal things in shifting markets, they just became less popular because sellers had buyers lining up to give them checks. Now that's not necessarily the case. Being able to come to the table with that and solve the problem that maybe the seller doesn't even know they have, or that they know they have and they didn't know was an option, that may go like, I've even had specific conversations with off-market sellers be like, oh, I've actually never thought about that because they haven't sold a property for 5-10 years and they didn't need to sell it like that. So the creative part is huge. If there are people watching the video that has like a specific situation, like you can DM either of us, Adam or myself, like specifically for Waterloo region, that's like that's our bread and butter. But like general ideas or general concepts and terms and things that you can use in your offers, don't hesitate to reach out, because like you don't know what you don't know. And, sometimes you could try it and it doesn't work, but it opens up the mind or the conversation between you and the seller. And they realize that you're working to get a deal done just as hard as they want to sell the property. Now, maybe they just want to work with you because they're confident that you can get something together. Right. Like it just starts opening up so many doors.
Yeah. And I know my offers right now, like I'd be prioritizing speed over actual price from the buy side. Like
Yes.
I bet there's a lot of people that right now, if you give them like a terribly low price, but great speed, like if you can close with speed and you're confident you can do that, like right now, I bet there's a ton of sellers like myself who on certain buildings would love to take that deal. So like, don't be afraid to, again, come from that position of power with aggressive terms.
I think our hit rate was probably close to 10% for like accepted offers for investors. I'd have to double check that because there's been a lot of offers flying around lately. I don't know if that percentage is going up or down right now. But like you have to realize like you're going to offer on a bunch of properties before you get an accepted offer. And you're going to go through some conditional periods before you actually firm up on a deal. Like understanding that as the seller or as a buyer that, buying and selling investment properties or larger projects, it's a process. It's not like your experience for buying, your first townhouse or your first home. Like it is different, right? So just understand that it is a process. And the more creative you can be, the more opportunities there are going to be. So investor hot list, there's a link in the description. If you want to go to phipsbrittinrealestate.com/contact, hit the investor tab. If you are looking for specific deals, specific resources, contacts, or information, you can leave me a note. But typically myself, Matt, or Derek on our team will, either a quick call or a quick email. Hey, we saw you were looking at this, but the investor hot list will get you on our weekly email list. We go through multifamily deals on market and off market. We go through single family deals that can be duplex conversions, triplex conversions, maybe even soon fourplex conversions in Kitchener, because we can now do 4 units. Soon we'll be able to do 4 units on one residential lot in Kitchener. We'll talk about that at in the next video. We got some good stuff for that. But great resource for you guys and girls that just want to know more about Waterloo region. Completely free. I do the emails every week. I leave you my 2 cents on kind of, what we're seeing with offers, what we're seeing with sellers and buyers. So you can kind of get a pulse. It's a 2-minute read and you get some links to some deals so you can start to familiarize yourself with the market. Great free resource. We've had a ton of people through the investor hot list. It's been awesome to connect with you guys. Selling property, find your next deal. You want market data and resources, or you need a contractor for one of your projects. Like our network is yours. You guys and girls on the Canadian Real Estate Channel have been so good to us. We got to make sure we keep giving back. Now for the buyers, investing in Waterloo region kind of right now, there's a few spots that we see immediate opportunity, and then a few spots that I'm starting to kind of see a little bit more. The single family homes, there's a lot more variance in those prices right now, Adam, a lot more. You'll see homes in the same area sell for dramatically different prices, just based on motivation, based on timing within like the same month period. So like being able to do conversions is starting to become a lot more attractive because purchase prices, you could scoop up some nice purchase prices now where it would take a little bit longer than I would have expected to really come down. So, you know, you can convert a single family home into 2 or 3 units right now. And then City of Kitchener just passed a bill that they'll be putting into play in the new year that you should be able to put 4 units on one residential lot, assuming the lot size permits. But primarily, like, we're looking midtown locations for these single family conversions. These are brick built detached properties on, you know, nice size lots that are typically larger than 40 frontage and larger than 110 depth. So you can actually fit, you know, either an ADU or an addition for a 3rd or even a 4th unit on it. And they're typical, or they're suitable locations for tenants. Like, these are where people are willing to pay premiums because you can get things like storage space, things like a yard, things like parking, but you're also not too far from all your amenities. You're not out in the suburbs where you have big homes on small lots. So Forest Hill, Forest Heights, Rosemount, Pioneer, Country Hills, and Kitchener. You could go Westvale, Uptown Waterloo, and Waterloo. You can also do North Lake, which is past the university. Nice big lots, kind of built in the 70s and 80s out there. In Kitchener, a lot more stuff in the 60s and 70s build because they're big lots, detached homes, and they're not overpriced yet. These locations will skyrocket as soon as people realize that the only way you're going to get a detached home at an affordable price is on the outskirts of town. And these are premium size lots and premium locations.
Yeah, that's awesome. We saw very similar things in London. So obviously I'm more of a London expert, but I mean, you look at Byron, you look at Kamoka. There's one on the north side of the city that I actually forget the name of that neighborhood, but same story. I mean, it's just, it is a trend, but it's like not going away, right?
No.
It's forever going to be the case that will be a great place to invest, and honestly a great place to live. Like, if you think about it from the consumer's perspective, like you want to be in those areas because those areas get like all of the new services, all of the new stores, and whatever's like actually in vogue at that time is like what ends up being there. And you get away from some of the sketchier downtown issues too. So that's not bad. That's not a bad symptom.
Absolutely. And they're suitable for so many people. You turn around and sell it. Location's great. It appeals to investors, appeals to first-time buyers, or people that want to live close to downtown but not right in the middle of the mix. Suitable for tenants too. I have space for cars. I have space for storage. I have space for family. But if they don't need those things and they just want to be able to bike to work, it's close enough for that. So, and I just think for those types of deals, the forced appreciation, you get quality units and you get no rent controls. If you guys are going to take a single-family home, you get no rent control in the new unit. So if I take an upper level 3-bedroom unit for a duplex and a lower level 1 or 2-bedroom, the lower level is not rent controlled. If I put an ADU or 2 more units and an addition on the back, those 2 new units are not rent controlled. So if I can build those units cheaper than I can go out and buy them, and they're not rent controlled and they're brand new, and I get to fill them with the tenants or sell them vacant for premium for another investor, okay, I have options. So if you guys are looking for small to mid-scale kind of investments in Waterloo region, the single family to 2, 3, and potentially 4 unit conversions are good options, but also small multi-unit burrs. So in Kitchener specifically, Waterloo and Cambridge have some similar spots, but a lot more in Kitchener. Purpose-built 3 and 4 unit properties on big lots in these midtown locations are money. The lots are big enough that I know we'll be able to add 2 brand new units, potentially more in the future. So if you go in, you buy it as is, you're getting decent rents, you turn over the units, all of a sudden you get a nice forced appreciation bump because you're getting some new rent in there. Those units are still going to be rent controlled, which is fine. That's fine, but you're getting current market rents, better for your appraisal, better for your cash flow. Let's go. You have enough of a lot space to maintain your parking requirements, either add storage or add other units or both, right? They don't need a side yard for a 4-unit property. They need parking space, or you need extra units, or you need storage space for extra amenities for your tenants that will raise the value. And these have nice sized lots, and City of Kitchener wants to work with investors. So even if you have to do rezoning, you have to do minor variances, as long as you're building safe units that meet their criteria, City of Kitchener's being like, heck yeah, we'll bend on some of these other things just so that we can get some new units because we need them. So like, even for bigger investors, if you want to take on a deal by yourself or you want to dip your toes into the Waterloo region market, like these smaller multi-unit burrs, anything from a 3 to kind of that 8 units on big lots, like I see tons of opportunity in those without taking a ton of short-term risk, because the rental income is still strong here and there is opportunities for you to instantly add value. I like that for investors right now.
Awesome. Yeah. And I love just again, like the availability of so many exit strategies for you on those types of projects. Like, I mean, you can really do anything. The rents are strong enough that you can hold if it turns out the market does shift in the future, or if the market shifts in a positive way, like you can always sell and capture a lot of appreciation. So
yeah,
awesome.
Exit strategies. I know me and you have talked about that, but like specifically on our videos here on the Canadian Real Estate channel, like guys, especially if you're a newer investor, do not underestimate having multiple exit strategies. Please, like last thing you want to be doing, especially in a shifting market when we feel like there's going to be opportunity for both sides, buyers and sellers, like being stuck to a project that you didn't want to be stuck to because you just didn't have, an exit. That sucks. So, try to avoid that, right? But then like, I'll be real quick with this section, and man, my photography is awful. This is why I hire the pros, guys. This is why I hire the pros.
This is an iPhone for sure.
Yeah, this is my cell phone photos, guys, and it's stretched. It's just brutal. Shame on me here. But this isn't a listing photo. This is just an update photo. So this is just over 800 square foot, 2-bedroom ADU that we're building in Kitchener. We like everything. We've done everything with this project. This was a good test for us to say, hey, if we were going to throw the kitchen sink at a project like this, what can we really do with it? Vaulted ceilings in the living room and the dining room, kitchen area, 2 bedrooms at the back, completely separate in terms of your electrical and your mechanical systems, 2-car parking, right? Like elevated. I had to do the elevation to get the grading done, right? Like we did everything for this one. So we're actually going to host an ADU event. This is just another terrible photo of the front. My bad, guys. I'm sorry. I didn't even practice what I preach here. So we're going to do a tiny home big profits event, first and second week of December. Investor hot list. You guys are going to get it first, and then I'm going to post it on my social media and open it up to others. So if you guys want first dibs, it is a tiny home. It's 800 square feet, so it's not really that tiny, but like limited capacity. I can't fit 100 people in. So we're going to host probably 2 hard dates where we'll do a presentation, take you guys through how we built it, how much it costs, how much you can rent it out for, how you can finance them to build them and to refinance them, to carry them if you want to long term. And just like the whole process, like this is just starting to catch on in Waterloo region, but like could be a legitimate opportunity, especially for investors out there that are equity heavy and are having problems with financing either new projects. If you have existing properties, adding value to them by adding additional units, whether it's an ADU or additions, huge. And especially in a market that's growing like ours that just can't build units quick enough, small to medium-sized investors like myself, like huge opportunity for us, because I can build this ADU cheaper than I can go buy a 2-bedroom unit that'll rent for $2,500, $2,600, $2,700 a month. So if I have existing properties, it's way more economical for me to add value to existing properties to boost my cash flow and my potential resale value than go out and buying opportunities in the current market. It just gives you another option or another out if you have properties that you already own or are looking to purchase. So you can email me direct or just go on the investor hot list. You guys get first dibs.
Awesome. Yeah. And I know if you're watching this, you probably have fear, uncertainty, doubt, and more importantly, questions about how you approach actually doing an additional dwelling unit. Yeah. And especially like, I guess like just in looking at those 2 photos, like maybe I wasn't even thinking correctly about what an ADU could be, right? Like that's a full on nice 800 square foot house.
Built a house in the backyard.
No, that's a house in the backyard, right? And I've actually owned properties that are smaller than that to begin with. So when I'm looking at that, like, yeah, I mean, I have questions, right? I have some uncertainty. I have some doubts about how much it could cost.
Yeah.
How would I finance it? Those types of things. So if you have additional questions other than what Zack mentioned, leave them in the comments because I'm sure that'll help for us to follow up with you because, I myself, like literally me, I have issues wrapping my head around it. And so I think an event like that's a really great opportunity at a super low cost to just get in there and like, okay, how did they actually do this? Right? Because I think all of investing is actually very, very simple. And sometimes it's just not easy. But the more exposure we get to people who have done the thing, the more you understand like, oh, it actually is simple and easy. And maybe we shouldn't be screaming that from the rooftops or everybody will be doing it. But at the same time, go and see. What's the worst?
In the
it's going to cost
too,
you some time.
Like you said, Adam, a lot of people are going to have questions like that. Like if you have a question, there's a chance that there's 20 other people that are watching the video. They're like, shit, I don't know that either. But like hit us in the comments. If you guys want to come to the event, we're going to post the dates. I hope if the next video gets out beforehand, if not on our social media and on our investor hot list, we'll share all the information. But even so, like open invite. Like if somebody wants to come visit the job site, or somebody wants to come see it when it's done, you want to ask me, you want to ask my partners, Matt, or you want to ask the construction team that's building it for us, Kevin, like we're happy to share. I think this is just at the beginning of what these opportunities are. So there's not a ton of really accurate information. And unfortunately, like most real estate deals, Adam, everything is case by case basis. A 10-unit deal in Kitchener from a seller, you know, that has a ton of experience in selling and buying investment properties is going to be different than a 10-unit deal, you know, on the outskirts of town in a small market by a guy who's just owned it for 25 years. Like it is very circumstantial. And that's the most frustrating thing that I've heard from people who want to build these things or want to know more about them. It's like, they don't know if they can build it on their lot. They have no idea how much it costs. They don't know what it's going to look like, if it's even going to be suitable enough for the accommodations that they want. And they don't know what type of rent they could get for it or what types of features you can put in it. If like say your family or a friend or a colleague is actually going to live in the unit, like you want to make sure it's a nice space for them. So like this one, you know, we kind of, like I said, we threw the kitchen sink at it. We really wanted to show off what we could do, but like you could build really affordable, you know, bachelor or 1-bedroom ones in smaller spaces that pack a big punch. You could build 2-3-bedroom ones with basements. Like you can really, you know, do a lot with it. So hit us up in the comments with your questions. But we're really excited to have this one finished up. It's a cool project.
Awesome, Zach. Well, I really appreciate that. Is there anything else you wanted to cover today? Sure. Should we wrap this up?
No, investors, just, you know, don't be a stranger. I've learned so much this year, Adam. This was a big year for us in terms of just networking and talking with other investors and learning. I think a lot of you guys and girls out there, I appreciate you coming to YouTube for that because you're not out there going to events and conferences, but like, do not hesitate to reach out, whether it's myself, whether it's Adam, whether it's a conference, whether it's a meetup. Like, you can learn a ton just from talking to other investors that have experience doing the deals that you're currently doing or you want to do. So just like, don't be a stranger. I have learned so much this year just from talking to other people that are half a step or a step ahead of me in my investment career. And it's just really opened up some doors and really solved problems before I've made the mistake, saving myself literally hundreds of thousands of dollars of mistakes. So like, I just encourage you guys, like I get the COVID thing's kind of behind us now, but like go to your in-person events, make some phone calls and talk to other investors, or drop your comments here. Like educating yourself will save you a ton of time and money and set you up for success. So don't stop doing that. That's been a big thing for me. That's different this year. So I just encourage you guys, if you're watching the video, go do the same.
Yeah, I agree with you fully. One part of this too, if you want proper education, is just having the vulnerability to talk to other people about what your current issues are. And, you know, having the courage to ask the right questions, right? Like, hey, I'm really messing up this project, or hey, this didn't go the way I thought it was going to go, or these rates actually are affecting my business. Or if you're like me right now, you've got a badass cash flow issue, right? And so I think having the vulnerability to be able to ask the right questions when you are in one of those rooms is where you find the value. So 100%. I appreciate you all tuning in. And thanks again, Zach, for your market update. And I hope we see you guys back on the Canadian Real Estate channel. Zach's got lots of other videos, by the way. On his previous video, he talked about market updates and used a really nice map. It kind of looked like a little, you know, it was done in crayon, but it's a really informative map about which areas he thinks are really exciting right now to invest in. So I recommend you go back, watch the previous videos from Zach. And we'll be right here back with you again next month with the market update. So look forward to talking to you then.
Thanks, guys. See ya.